the final is report. All right. If you're on the team, make sure your team is reporting to whichever executive oversees you. If you're the executive and you're frustrated that your team's not reporting, well, make it clear what you want them to report. Okay. But there's no function or department in business that where a report does not make sense. And it accomplishes a couple of things. It accomplishes the confidence to continue funding the team. Executives can see, good numbers on the scorecard, good progress, that the business needs are being met. There's good return on investment. Guess what? We're going to continue funding the team. Also, it accomplishes retention for the developers. It's beyond just employee satisfaction. Developers tend to be intrinsically motivated, and it is fun to win at the game of software. It is fun to be able to crank out changes quickly and just be really good at building and changing software. And that makes it worthwhile for a developer to stay at a company. And executives know with any department or team, if the team members are quitting, that's way more expensive than any other investment. So it always makes sense to retain your good people. And when you think about what the report needs to include, we have a sample scorecard as a part of our clear measure way for effective software teams. And you can certainly use that template. We'll put a link to it in the chat, but a report always includes a scorecard with the measures that are relevant for your team. And also two other things, the team kind of reporting up, hey, here's some challenges. We need some help. Or, hey, these are the risks. I'm starting to whiff a risk, a bad thing that might happen. Here's a fork in the road. We need a decision because we need to figure out how to handle that risk. So these are some of the pieces, but there needs to be a report. No report is not a good idea, Tim.
That's exactly right. I think on both sides, as an executive, it is okay to ask your team for a report. They're going to probably, if they're not doing it, they may not love the idea. They may, if so, great. But as a developer, if someone above an executive is asking for a report, you should owe it to them. They are funding and putting a lot of capital towards a project. And so what I'd also say is don't sit down and we've got templates and guidance, and it's just guidance. If there's a metric that is more beneficial to track for your company, then do that. And sometimes you don't have to create gobs of systems, and it shouldn't take don't hesitate to get started. If you have nothing and next week you're reporting 2 metrics, great. Now make it 3 or 4. And the goal isn't to accrue metrics. The goal is to have a good understanding of what's happening within the software business or the business that the software is supporting. And so don't let perfect be the enemy of good. Get started. And you don't want it to take 2 hours, 3 hours to prepare this report. Start off of, hey, Jeffrey, did we have any downtime last week? Was the website offline? No. Okay. I'm going to put 100% here. Do we have a system that can report that for us? No, not yet. Okay. We should get that so we can just grab a number from somewhere. But you said there was no downtime. So let's just start tracking downtime because that's really important to us. Don't try to say, well, we can't report downtime until we get this system. And then, well, that system needs this. And now but you can report something and you can make those numbers more trustworthy as you go. But generally, you can put a finger in the air and start somewhere. Don't let perfect be the enemy of good.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so I know there's a lot of information. Your brain's probably hurting to get into this time, but some sample next steps, just hands down, use our resources. They're free. We want them to be beneficial, and we want to know how they're working for you. So use them. They're all on our website, including recordings of past webinars. Also, what's free is a free one-on-one strategy session with a chief architect. Okay, any of our, maybe Tim, maybe me, but any of our chief architects, a free strategy session just to talk about the situation and get a finer point on what you should do internally. And you know what? There's a lot of things that you can do independently, and that's great. And we'll kind of push you in the right direction. And then where it makes sense for us to help with something, That's what we do. We love seeing internal software teams succeed. There's other companies that want to take your project and get it outsourced, or there's other recruiting companies that want to kind of place, contractors internally. You've decided that you're going to be good at software in-house. We want that for you. And that's how we think. And so, I mean, there's so many common initial engagements that tend to make sense for a lot of companies. Assessing the software organization, inspecting the software itself, inspecting the software process, the architecture of the software, doing some planning around platform engineering with the DevOps automation and cloud technologies, or just some advisement or mentoring for the software leader of your team. We do a lot of that as well. So send an email if any of those can be useful. And we'll close out Tim and then see if there's any questions.
Okay.
All right. So one comment that we have: developers and CEOs who are not familiar with code versioning. It's just a comment, and that is true. And that's just not only code versioning. There's plenty of other patterns where the developers on the team and the CEO might both not really know the right way to go in that case. And that's where it helps just to get some outside advisement, because Clear Measure, we have several patterns around all kinds of details, including code versioning and release candidate packaging. And if we just talk about it, then there'll be some clarity and they can make some changes and it'll be fixed pretty quick. So that's not the code versioning isn't the only one where, nobody at the company might not know the best way to go, but just get a little bit of advice. And a lot of these issues are really simple to solve individually.
Sometimes you see, in conversations I've had, that the way you develop software for, airline systems or big, medical systems is different than maybe what you need. So you want to be careful. I think we have a great process and we've laid out all the different ways, but the way that someone develops software for that company may not work for your company. And so, that's where we can come in, and we want you guys to be successful. And so we can make recommendations that are appropriate for where you're at in development. We can help sequence those to say, there might be 10 things you might not even know where to start. Hey, this one right here is going to probably give you an 80, kind of a big lift and get you on the way. And so sometimes it's just talking that through or pointing in the right direction or confirming maybe a thought you already had. You need to develop your own processes, and they may look like other companies, but you don't want to copy necessarily exactly what another company has. You got to know why you're doing something, and we can help with that. And so we do a lot of that work where we say, this is going to be a big payoff for you. This one's important, but you can't do this one until you get this one solid. And so that's some of that. We'd love to talk. We'd love to be able to understand your pain points and maybe some of your successes. I love hearing where people are doing great.
Definitely. All right. Well, one thing we enjoy is finishing a little bit early and giving you some time back. So thank you so much for the attention. I know your time is valuable, and send us an email, info@clear-measure.com, if we can be helpful. And thanks so much for your time. Have a great day. And we'll stay on just to answer the question. If you don't have any questions, go ahead and move on. But just a question just came in, Devin. Does Clear Measure offer coaching to developers on how to grow and maybe work through some of the challenges or areas where they aren't as strong as in other areas? Absolutely. Yes. That is a very important part of a software development team being successful. And that's our focus. So we always tend to have a number of clients where that is part of the engagement, part of the focus. Developers need to grow, and or there's just a sticky thing to get through. So the answer is yes, and we'd be happy to follow up with you and talk through that. If that's helpful, just let us know. All right, and I think we covered everything. Awesome. Thanks so much, everyone. Take care.
Thank you.